The great outdoors. Yeah, I love being outdoors. It's nice, even when it's in Canada and it's actually cold, hence the toque and the winter jacket. Uh, anyway, I've been kind of evicted from the home because there's too many holiday gifts being wrapped, so I'm not allowed to see what it is, obviously. And we've got stuff all over the place, so there's really nowhere else for me to go. For now, so I had to come outside to do this video. Anyway, not that you needed to know that, you just want to know what on earth am I even talking about in regards to high ISO. More specifically, noise. What is the cause of noise? Is it the high ISO that you're shooting? Not necessarily. It is more about the exposure. If you get the incorrect exposure for the higher ISO that you're shooting, yes, you will generate noise. So if your aperture's off, if your shutter speed is off, basically, if not enough light photons are hitting the sensor on your camera, that is what will cause noise. Anything it can't read, it will overboost. And once it tries to overboost it, that's when you actually notice all the weird grain and colors are off, and you get the weird like purple tinges or magenta tinges and all that bizarre things that nobody really wants in their photos. But shooting at high ISO with the proper amount of light exposing the sensor is perfectly fine. I'm not going to get into ISO invariance and all that stuff because honestly, I don't bother with any of that. I just shoot the image, and if it looks good, it's good. I figure out what the general settings are that I would be using, and that's pretty much it. So I've broken these down by folder. I believe 3200, 6400, 8000, 10,000, and 12,000 ISO. These were shot outdoors, and in some of them pretty flat light, some of them very good light, and you'll see that it's perfect. The K3 Mark III is perfectly capable of shooting at ridiculously high ISO and still get a very detailed image. Most of these are birds. You can see the massive amounts of detail in the feathers, each strand of feather, those millimeter strands, everything's there. And let's just get into the photos themselves. All right, so starting at 3200 ISO. Now, one thing you will notice with this is, as I said, the actual element of shooting at high ISO, it's not necessarily going to generate noise. Getting your exposure incorrect is what will generate noise, and you'll see what I mean in a minute. So this is at 3200 ISO, decent image. Some motion blur, just I was using a slower shutter speed to keep the exposure correct. Let's move on to the next one. And there we have this woodpecker. You can see all the feather detail and everything, and the, I don't know, I guess dinosaur looking like claw and talon there. But again, very, very clean image. And let's look at this grackle. Same thing. Very clean image at 3200 ISO. And now we've got a snowy owl coming in. Again, another clean image. Have this deer, 3200 ISO, nice clean image. And we've got this grackle shooting through the sky in like missile mode, almost like a transformer. Again, another very clean image. It doesn't even have the usual grain texture for the blue sky anywhere around it. It's a very, very clean image. And now we have this chipmunk. Again, you can see all the individual strands of hair and everything on the chipmunk. There's no blotchiness from any noise or anything. It's a very, very clean image. So now let's go on to 6400 ISO. And now if we take a look at 6400 ISO, once again, decently clean image at 6400 ISO. It's a slight bit of noise reduction that was applied. However, there's a little bit of blotchiness, but it's only where the wingtips are blurred anyway, due to the shutter speed and the speed of the wingtips moving. But everything else is decently sharp. Let's take a look at this one here. No idea what this guy was even staring at. But again, this is a decently clean image for 6400 ISO. No complaints. And this red-breasted nuthatch, 6400 ISO, and look at all that feather detail. So again, shooting at high ISO is not going to be the dictating factor in regards to how much noise you're going to get in your image. The amount of photons hitting the image sensor and your aperture and your shutter speed in accordance to the available ambient lighting, that will determine how much noise will be in the image. For example, this shot here. Let's take a look at the bottom. Decently clean. Decently clean everywhere that there's decent amounts of light. I'm not saying it's 100% perfect, but it's decently clean. Now, if we go up here to where the sky is, you'll see there's a ton of noise. And all that noise is just not enough photons hitting the image sensor of the camera. Same ISO. Let's take a look at this one. Another red-breasted nuthatch. And look at the amount of detail on this guy. Look at that. The background, there's a slight, slight blotchiness, well, not even blotchiness, but some slight grain. It's smooth textured. The focus is out of, well, the background, sorry, is out of focus, but the subject is perfectly sharp. And now let's take a look at this chickadee, same ISO. And there you have it. The chickadee is perfectly sharp. It's a beautiful image. So again, as long as you have the right lighting and your exposure is correct, even shooting at ISO 8000, it's perfectly fine. Let's take a look at ISO 10,000. Here's my dog. Clean image, ISO 10,000. As long as the lighting and everything is there and you've got the exposure, no issues whatsoever. And there's another chickadee, well, same chickadee. I guess there was a slight light shift in regards to the exposure, so this went up to 10,000. But even at 10,000 ISO, still all these feather strands all along here. You can still see everything. It is a sharp image. And that's, I don't know what else there really is to say about that. It's just, that's how it is. Now here's a flat, this was a flat day. Just gray sky, no sun, and you can see that there is some noise everywhere. There's noise all along here. The out of focus area is completely noisy, splotchy. There's a little bit of detail, but this is just, it was just not a very good exposure. And that's what dictates what will give you noise and what will not. So don't worry so much about the high ISO. I've seen people with the K3 Mark III say things like, they refuse to shoot over 1600 ISO. They're afraid to do 3200 ISO. There's really nothing to be afraid of. You just need to make sure that you're nailing the exposure. Like this here, there was no ambient lighting whatsoever. With your naked eye, everything was pitch black. Everything. So I'm shocked that there were even enough photons to make the trees green. From absolute pitch black. But you can see as I zoom in, there is a lot of splotchiness everywhere because it's just lack of light. It was absolute black, absolute darkness. And then this was shot same ISO in midday sun, and you can see all the carbon fiber weave along the top here, along the wing. You can see the carbon fiber around the exhaust, carbon fiber around the lip here, along the diffuser here. So again, this is a very clean image, and that's pretty much it for this video. There's really nothing else to say. So if you like the video, leave a like. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. Always helps out. If you want to support the channel, that info's at the bottom of the description. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Happy holidays, everybody, and yeah, next year's right around the corner. That's going to be a big one. Anyways, I'm going to go. You'll see me on my next video. I'm out.